Alright, man. It took me a really long time to get here, but I finally managed to play the new game, and, well, I streamed it on Twitch as usual, and, of course, like all of my Twitch streams, if you've been watching or if you haven't, you'll probably notice that I stop and comment a lot at various points in the game, and so I don't move through the game as I would otherwise if I was playing alone. But anyways, let's talk about Medieval Cop Season 2 Episode 3. Okay, so first off, I really appreciate that this game is actually one of the shorter games I've played in recent memory. I believe the last time I played a game this short was like Medieval Cop 5, so we've had a lot of really long games for quite a while, and it makes this review video a lot easier to write up and prepare for, because there's less stuff to cover, and I can go really far in depth on some of the scenes that we have. Like, there's not that many very important scenes to dissect, but oh boy, do they have a lot of meaty content that we can break down and cover.
Pass by, no, I can't see clear, think I'm lost inside, and the end is near. It's just not fair. It's just not fair.
So let's talk about Dr. Psy. This man has really elevated himself, both as a character and as a villain in this episode. Like, I really like how he was handled here. Basically, we're building up a relationship between Greg and Dr. Psy, where he is effectively the only character who Dreg trusts with his current feelings and with his current change of character at the moment. Which is pretty huge, because we know that Dr. Psy is the villain, and yet as the villain, he is now basically the closest emotionally to Dreg, and he is the one who he is the one who knows the most about Dreg's insecurities, and yet he helped him. Now, we know that Dr. Psy is still an enemy to Dreg, and he didn't just help Dreg for the sake of helping him. He did reveal to have an ulterior motive. And not only that, he was being quite incredibly sus at the very beginning of this game. He was going out and like pretty much openly exposing himself, saying stuff like, "Yo, Dreg, I got the feeling you came here to kill me." And then Dreg's like, "What? Why? What? You've always been that." And then Dr. Psy is like, "Oh, you didn't want to kill me for something I did recently? Well, maybe you might for something I might do in the future." Like, dude, you're literally giving yourself away. You're fortunate that the plot demands that Dreg doesn't find out yet, because it would be too anticlimactic. But that wasn't a very good move, man. That wasn't a very good move. But what's important is that he helped him. He helped Dreg. Dreg's going to remember this, and as a result, we as the audience know that it is just going to result in a much, much more dramatic and emotional reveal when Dreg finally realizes that Dr. Psy is an antagonist. Like, one detail that really stood out to me was how Dreg was never hostile, or he never was his usual angry and spiteful selves towards Dr. Psy like he was in, say, Medieval Cop 6. Here, he is actually confiding in Dr. Psy and telling him about his personal issues. And this is just a really rare detail that we have never seen Dreg express, especially to someone who, honestly, Dreg has a history of disliking so much. Okay, jumping in this part just to say, he still dislikes Dr. Psy. Like, at the beginning of the scene, I missed it while I was recording. He did indeed kinda just be like, "Yeah, I always hated you." But for the context of this particular meeting, he was actually willing to give him a chance, and that was mostly just past dislike. I didn't notice it until my second playthrough, when I was able to replay the first scene, because the sword interaction with the joke with the series being over that Dreg could have just taken out Dr. Psy right there, that kind of threw us off. It distracted us from the fact that Dreg's relationship with Dr. Psy has fundamentally changed this episode compared to previous episodes when he wanted to kill them for sending him into an insane asylum. Ultimately, this I think gives Dr. Sai a huge advantage, because the closer he gets to Dreg emotionally, and the more Dreg puts his trust in him, it'll just make Dreg all the more emotionally devastated, and it'll tank his morale once he realizes that Dr. Sai is an enemy and he might fight him. Like, depending on how far we get, Dreg may not even have the will to fight him, and he might be defeated, and even if he comes back, he may not even want to like fight him at all. And honestly, this is gonna hit pretty different with Dr. Sai, because unlike previous villains, like say for example Beelzebub or Phoenix, they've done things to like give our protagonists like an emotional cause or like emotional motivation to take down these guys. But like with Dr. Sai, he hasn't really done anything yet. He hasn't done anything. He's actually done the exact opposite. He's seen as a friend to most of the main cast, or at the very least, if not friend, because some people will absolutely hate his guts, then at least an ally. So this just kind of makes like the dramatic tension all that more interesting when the main cast has to face him. Also, from the way things are going, I do not foresee Dr. Sai's defeat to be a particularly happy or triumphant or particularly satisfying thing to happen in the series. Like, when he gets defeated, he's gonna be missing from basically the main cast of medieval characters, and things are gonna feel a little empty, and things just won't feel the same like when he's gone, because of how much of a role he's played in both solving cases in the previous games and in just being like a funny character to some people. So his loss definitely won't be a happy one once ultimately he's defeated. And I think like the other characters, the protagonists that are fighting against Dr. Sai, like Dreg, Polytira, and whoever else, they're going to feel the loss, and they probably felt like they've potentially like lost a friend or something. Especially more so now with Dreg, because Dreg currently is warming up to Dr. Sai more, and it won't be very satisfying to see him get defeated, I don't think. His defeat will be more like kind of, wow, we had to take down someone who we thought was a friend, and now he's gone and things don't feel the same again. But anyways, I'm excited to see how Dr. Sai's character develops in future games. I was never really a big fan of the guy, but him as like a character in the context of the role he plays in the story, I'm now very fascinated in his role and what he's going to do going forward. Okay, so next, let's talk about the big family feast with Dreg and family and friends and co. And honestly, there's not a whole lot of things to cover here. It had a huge emotional impact on Dreg, and it's going to be very important to making him realize the importance of his own life and the life of others, so he'll become more like a family man, so to speak. But I guess we gotta address the elephant in the room. Ada is now sharing a body with herself. We have normal Ada, and then we have Asylum Ada, who they are sharing a body together. And for some reason, the bandages are also magical. So like when Asylum Ada shows up, the bandages will also show up, which I find, I mean, you don't usually question video game logic like that, so it is what it is. But I'm surprised that, honestly, well, at the same time, I'm also not surprised that this kind of, this cliffhanger that was presented to us at the end of the last Medieval Cop game, it just kind of got resolved just like that. It kind of seemed terrifying at first, it kind of seemed like what the heck is going on, but now they're just kind of settled in off screen, and now just kind of getting along normally. Now, where is this gonna go eventually? We'll see, because like I don't think they're gonna stay in the same body forever. Maybe Asylum Ada is like a little lonely because the other Ada is like aged too far or whatever. Like, how did Asylum Ada get here? We still don't know. There's still a lot of mysteries about why she's even here in the first place. But basically, it's tough to say where this is headed. Like, is Asylum Ada going to sacrifice herself because like Asylum Dreg is pretty much gone, or is she just gonna like? Would it be weird if Asylum Ada was gonna be the one that Dreg marries in the end, because that other Ada doesn't really want him, and then he's just gonna be like, yeah, no. So the thing is, for this plot line, I don't really see a clear direction in which this could go, so there's not a whole lot I could say about it, and I mean, all we can say is wait and see. Asylum Ada and Ada is going to play a major role, like in the Divine storyline. But as of right now, we just got to wait and see exactly where it's headed. It could go in so many different directions the way things stand right now. So yeah, that's my take on that. All right, now onto the case. And the first thing that came to my mind when the case started was the drowned swimmer guy that apparently committed suicide inside his own bathtub. And like there was like a little bit of his head showing off at the top. And when I was playing through the live stream, I asked, wait, what if that wasn't like the head of the victim? What if that was like the butt? What if that was like the butt tilted upwards out of the water? And his basic position was like his head was down at the bottom at like the at the bottom side, and then like the upper side of the tub was actually his butt tilting upwards. So yeah, that's kind of dumb, but I thought I should share that with you because apparently people like it when I point out really small like side details about games, like and about characters that normally people really don't pay attention to. So there you go. Now as for the case itself, Bass and J really needs to like, I don't know if this is me, but some of these random character models, Mosshead specifically, he looked really, really creepy. Like, as soon as I saw him with those big, like, red eyes and that green hair, like, his eyes were so disproportionately big, they look freaking demonic. As soon as I saw it, I was like, yo, oh my god, what the heck? I'm so scared now. Yo, this guy looks really, really terrifying. And I didn't want to click on him when I was investigating the case the whole time, because I did not want to, like, look at his super scary, terrifying, big, wide, red-eyed face. So, I apologize for these side rants about my personal experiences in the game, but yeah, those are just kind of some joke thoughts I want to go with it. Now for some serious commentary on the case. This was one of the easier cases that we've done in quite a while. Like, I believe like most of the stuff, like it follows the usual case formula where you have 5 clues and then like 3 parts to each clues. But like many of these clues, it's easy to get a lot of the parts. I think for the case files, all you have to do is like talk to like the different case NPCs, and I think like for the door, like you go outside and walk the door, and then you get like evidence from people talking outside of the house, and you can easily get all 3 clues from both Tira and Polly. So this case was actually much quicker and easier than most, and honestly, I'm kind of okay with that. Like, I don't know. Some of the cases are harder and they provide a more compelling storyline, and this one provided a pretty compelling storyline while also being simple, but also a lot of information was withheld with us that could solve the case because Drake, of course, was not paying attention. We're looking at it through his perspective, so we didn't know the names of any of the characters. And so gameplay-wise, you kind of tried to figure out like who the culprit is yourself before you actually get to the thing. But in the case of this specific game, it was actually designed to be impossible for you to find out who the is, first of all, incomplete, and second of all, it's a little biased because Dreg here in this case, you're viewing at it like through the lens of a flashback, and so the information you have, especially as it pertains to like the obvious missing real names from these characters, you're looking at it from a biased perspective. Now, I actually immediately suspected Mosshead just because of how scary he looked, but yeah, Dreg kind of did it too, and like there's kind of an effect nowadays when Dreg kind of points out who the villain is or who the guilty party is. We automatically think, wait, that's the guy? Like, we don't really question Dreg at all at this point, and we try to like reason our way around the Dreg's conclusion to see what proof there is to justify his conclusion. Like, we are just wired to fully trust Dreg on the judgment he made, and I think this game itself, with Dreg being wrong, actually plays into like our perception as an audience about it, because we as an audience have become conditioned over like 50 plus games to always just basically look at Dreg's conclusion and be like, oh wow, okay, so he's figured it out. Well, I guess this guy's definitely the killer now. Some of us may have questioned like certain cases, the details may not have been fully clear, or like some of the information that's being presented is shaky, like from the game itself. But most cases, we just fully believe in Dreg when he tells us who it is, and we just completely believe him because we don't really have anything to go off of, and when he's wrong, we're wrong. And I think, at least me as an audience, or like me as a player of the game, or the reader, so to speak, I also feel like the game tricked me because I've just been conditioned to believe Dreg whenever he says somebody is like the culprit. So anyways, I actually appreciate that aspect of the game, and it made me think of things in like a new perspective. But with that said, if there is one thing that I just want to criticize about this case, it is specifically Manager Dent's comment, or his explanation about how there was a guy, a tall guy, with wearing glasses with orange hair, who gave like our swimmer dude the candy, and then suddenly bad things happen. And then Dreg was like, oh wait, that? You literally just put like us 3 police officers together to make up a random person. You made that up. And I was there. If you were watching the stream, okay? If you go back and rewatch the stream, I was there like, dude, how are we supposed to know that? How are we supposed to know he made that up? And how do you know he made that up? Like, first of all, tall, like all of these character model sprites look exactly the same height. How are we supposed to find out if one of these characters is taller than the other? Because they all are the exact same height. If they were taller, we wouldn't be able to see it. Second, there is a world where a tall orange-haired man with glasses does exist. I don't know why, like, we automatically assume it's a lie. How are we even, first of all, how are we supposed to even figure that out? How is Dreg even supposed to figure that out? And why? Like, are we just invalidating the potential existence of tall orange-haired men with hair? Or with glasses? Like, that part kind of seems a little bit ridiculous to me. Like, it just seemed really weird, out of place, and even if that is true that he is lying, like, there's no way we'd be able to figure that out. There's no way that Dreg would be able to figure that out theoretically. So, yeah, that part kind of threw me in for a loop. But with that said, I mean, the rest of the case is pretty compelling. I could probably do like a deeper dive into the case itself if any one of you watching would like me to talk more about the case, because most of the time I don't really have too much to analyze closely with the case unless there is something that stands out to me, or unless there is something that bothers me that I really want to talk about. So yeah, anyways, with that said, let's move on to the next part. Alright, man. So now let's talk about the secret ending. And oh my god! I can't believe Asinjay did it! He's gonna make the Dark Divine the final boss of the series. Wow. Man, I kinda saw that coming in earlier episodes, but I didn't think that would happen because it was a bit too obvious. So I guess, like, we're gonna have to fight against, like, a supreme, like, divine being now. Because I don't think Dreg's gonna want to, like, return. He's finally starting to feel like he belongs. He's finally starting to find himself, like, a nice group of friends and people that he can somewhat enjoy himself in. Like, he kind of feels like he has a sense of family and community now. So there is zero chance that Dreg is going to listen to the Dark Divine and just return. And especially with that free will comment, especially how, like, the Dark Divine says, yo, Dreg, come back before the 8th sin of free will infects you too. You know, your job is done, blah, blah, blah. So it seems the Dark Divine doesn't actually care about, like, the well-being of this universe. Doesn't actually care about, you know, whether this universe becomes, like, whether it becomes, like, good or bad, depending on whatever Arcana's disgruntled ex-husband does or whatever. So yeah, Dreg is definitely not going to stand for that, and although there is a small chance that Dark Divine isn't the final villain, and he just might end up being like, you know, he'll just let Dreg like feel free to stick around or whatever. It just seems very unlikely. They're both way too ideologically opposed, and I think we've basically set ourselves up for like a potential season 3 villain for after when Dr. Psy and the other Divine is defeated, like the Divine that's supposed to invade and take over this universe. So yeah. It looks like we've already got ourselves set up for like a potential season 3 plot right there, this early on. With that said though, regarding his role in season 2, if that is the case, there still might be a chance that the Dark Divine fundamentally opposes the idea of Arcana's universe being hijacked and taken over by another Divine in this case. So if that's the case, if that's the case where the Dark Divine's like, yo, this universe should be ruled by Arcana, because he seemed pretty adamant on Dreg leaving because now Arcana's gonna rule the universe and everything is like right in place. So he might still potentially be an ally for this season, depending on how he feels about Divines quarreling over like universe ownership or whatever. There's still a chance. Like, this is Medieval Cop. Anything that could probably happen has happened. The story has gone in a whole bunch of crazy directions that most people were never expecting. So I can't exactly say with a full certainty that we're going to be fighting the White Goblin ex-husband of Arcana Divine guy first, and then we'll be moving on to the Dark Divine after that. I can't say that with an actual uncertainty, because I don't know what the dynamic between that other Divine and the Dark Divine is. So there's still a lot to unpack, but right now it is looking very, very likely that the Dark Divine is the final boss just because of how ideologically opposed he is. Like, ultimately he will be, but like short term, there's still some things we gotta figure out about what he thinks about the Dr. Psy cult and the potential planned takeover this universe away from Arcana. So anyways, with that said, that's the end of the Medieval Cop Season 2 review for Episode 3. This is my first time doing a video like this, so I apologize if it's not nearly as good as it could be. I'm gonna try to build on this and try to make better reviews videos in the future. I mean, it kind of starts like this. You make something that's not good early on, and then it gets better as you go along. But anyways, if you made it to the end, thanks for watching. I'll see you for the review for Medieval Cop Season 2 Episode 4. And Episode 5. I believe it's a double release. Anyways, whatever comes out for the month of December, hopefully I will get out a review video sooner than, like, say, 1 month and a half after the dates. So yeah, see you then. Bye-bye.